And today we come together so that we can be reminded of that, because we sometimes do forget, and we get lost, and then we get found. And so let this be a moment of found. So we are here together. Bless everybody who is joining us through live stream and those here with us presently. We are the beloved of God, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. What we're going to speak about this morning are miracles. David's going to talk about how miracles, or even the definition of miracles, have changed in his life and how they've moved his life. And I'm going to talk about my idea of miracles and how it's all changed in my life since finding the Course. But before we do, we want to start with a song. And the song, we think, is what stops everyone. Well, the lyrics in this song tell the story of what stops everyone from opening up to the miracles that are freely offered to all of us all the time. It's our fear. Fear is what always stops us. Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves the soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger and I say love, it is a flower, and you, it's always seen. It's the heart afraid of waking that never takes a chance. It's the dream afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the one who won't be tamed, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. And the night has been too lonely, and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong. Just remember the winter far beneath the bitter snow. In the spring and with the sun's love, oh, the sea becomes their own. Thank you. It's hard to like sing to people that you love so much. It feels very intimate. It feels very vulnerable. So that is the story. I mean, I think that's the whole story of everything that we've all learned in the Course. Love is here all the time, and we're afraid of it. You know, we're afraid of the vulnerability. We're afraid of how it opens us up. So David's going to tell his story through his journey, finding miracles. You ready?
Absolutely, because standing here with you, this is a miracle. I mean, if you were to see our whole life and all of its twists and turns, having been together, married for 45 years.
Amen.
it's a miracle. So,
And today's a good day.
and we wanted to, at least I was motivated to talk about miracles because I feel that we're living one all the time. And my life is a miracle. And the idea that Irene is, as a result of having done teaching here in this Friday morning group last March, she's going halfway around the world to South Africa. And some of these women may be watching. Hello, if you are. And that is a miracle. But I looked at the dictionary definition because I was kind of curious, because there's lots of descriptions of miracles in the Course in Miracles text. In the beginning, there's a whole list, the first chapter. But I wanted to see what Webster had to say, and I was kind of amazed at how in tune it was with the Course in Miracles understanding. It says, a miracle is an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. Oh, wow. Mr. Webster, pretty good. An unusual event, a thing or accomplishment, a wonder or a marvel. And the Course in Miracles teaches us that actually in the world of spirit, which is what we are, which is what our substance is, in its essence, there really aren't any miracles. Miracles are only miracles in the human form, in the human world, where the expectation is for fear, lack, insecurity, conflict, and all those kind of things. So when we make breakthroughs into this other realm of love and spirit and wholeness and health and happiness and all of that, it seems like a miracle in the human world when it breaks through. I was thinking about when we were driving down here, and Irene asked me, well, what's your definition of miracle? And what came up for me was, it's a change in thinking in the direction of love rather than fear. And I know that, in my life, fear was the primary driver most of the time. It got me out of the house, it got me into things and out of things. Some of them were not necessarily in my best interest, but it was always driven by the baseline idea that I was not enough. And I had to do more, I had to do better, I had to earn more, I had to, certainly the idea of prosperity was not one that I had taken to root. And fast forwarding, I've been to theological school, I'd studied theology, I became an ordained minister, served a church for a while and all that kind of stuff, and had breakthroughs in there in terms of my understanding, but still my default tended to be life is kind of hard and you have to work at it and so forth, with occasional breakthroughs of joy and oneness and feeling all the spiritual flavors that we talk about here. But I wanted it to be the other way around. I knew that I wanted my default to be life is joy and love and happiness. Then occasionally you have downturns, but always back to the default. And I didn't know how to get to that place, because events would happen in my life on the outside. Sometimes there were little crises, sometimes that were unmet goals or disappointments. And so I'd fall back into that, if I were only better or, more holy, more spiritual or whatever. And then I had a heart condition. And I had some miracles that happened along with that opened my eyes a little wider to receive the blessings and the flow of the love of God. Because when I stop and think, and I've read certain things in the Course in Miracles, and we always ask the question, well, what is it that you want? What is it you desire? When I ask that baseline question, what I want is the peace of God. That's what I want. It sounds big. It sounds like, all-encompassing. But that's what I would like to have my operating system be. And it wasn't there, but I had a reprieve. My recovery from my heart condition has been good. I do have a little device in my chest, my little buddy, which assists me. But that's good. That's a good thing. Technology is good. I had an uncle that died from the same condition I had before they had the technology that I'm the beneficiary of. So I feel I'm living in the grace of God all the time. But there was a turning point in my life that got me more intentional about wanting to change my thinking. I'd been dabbling in the Course in Miracles for years. Irene and I did a group in Rye, 20 plus years ago. Weekly, I did a group in Portsmouth, the original group I did, which met at the Unitarian Church. But I really didn't get it. It sounded good and it felt good being in the circle with people, but I didn't really understand. I think I was still blocked. And then a few years back, I've told this story to some of you, or some of you might have heard it. We had the Newtown massacres in Connecticut, where that young fellow killed all those children in the school. And then there was the aftermath of that, the voices of the gun lobby saying, well, if they'd had guns in that school, they could have taken him out, and back and forth. And I was just sickened with this whole thing. That was on a Friday. The Sunday, there was a scheduled teacher giving the talk down at Unity in Boston, which I was affiliated with, who was a Course in Miracles teacher, and I knew that. And I went down there to listen to that talk. Irene wasn't able to go with me. And coming as a minister, someone who had been a minister, I said, oh man, I can't wait to hear what she has to say with this one. What does any minister get up in the pulpit talk about on this Sunday after what's going on? After that massacre and the whole discussions and back and forth that was going on in the newspaper. And I sat down there and listened to Maureen Whitehouse, was her name. Gave a talk that was so profound. I left there. She talked about forgiveness and love, and that we are the person that did those things. That's the part of us that doesn't believe in our own goodness, doesn't believe, And I can't remember this specifically, but I remember leaving there, and I had an intention that I had never had before, and I said, I've got to read that book from cover to cover. I've got to do the Course in Miracles. I got to stop dabbling. And so I became intentional about it. I had the book. I started reading, but I know my pattern. Start to read for a while and it fades off and my mind goes other places. So I knew I needed a group. And then months later, this is a whole other miracle story, I met Lisa Natoli, whom I didn't know. I didn't know that she had this group going. It had just started that fall. The Newtown massacre happened in December, and I think this group had started like in that fall prior to that December. And so I started coming to this group, and this was another, and then the miracles, the things that are out of the ordinary, started to happen. Linda Leland's mom was here. Irene and I had known her mom years before when we took a beginning course of unity in this church called The Quest. And Joanne was one of the teachers of The Quest. And I got to know her through this whole course, a 1-year course in all the principles which are in alignment with the Course in Miracles, about our goodness. And so here I am on a Friday morning meeting, and I'm starting to read the Course, because a part of me had the thought that, Dave, you need a group, you need some teachers. You've always done this when you've tackled it. Go home and read it. And I never really made a sustained commitment to a group of people who could become my tribe to reinforce the study of the Course. I do a little while, then stop. A little while, then stop. Well, with that commitment that came out of that, I said, I'm home. Joanne is here. I met Linda. Some of you were probably here. I remember when Nancy came, I heard the story of changing her whole life, moving from Florida, where she had been her home for years and years, to come back up here, drawn because of the Course and the principles and the teachings. And I thought, wow. So I knew there were people who were making a similar commitment to what I was making, to start to change my thinking and get the support that I needed to do that. Because left to my own devices, you know what I'm talking about. You don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need this. You don't need. And so this became my home group. And I know for me, I need to have groups. I need to have the church I go to. Why do I need that? Because I have a forgetter that wants to go back. It's called my ego. That wants to tell me its version of who I am and what I am. And that I do my best not to listen to anymore. And I lapse. It still sometimes gets my attention. So the miracle that's happening, and I think it's happening in the world, are things that do not make the headlines, that do not make media. Although with social media, it's breaking through. We hear very positive things. I hear Course in Miracles teachings. I hear about the miracles. You hear about the dark side of what comes also on Facebook and the rants. But another miracle for me is that we're in this very bizarre political season, and I watch it almost as entertainment on occasion, but it doesn't have me in here. And I'm thinking to myself, this is one case where I am not going to invest in the outcome of this election. Yes, I'm going to do my civic duty. I'm going to vote. But whatever happens is what happens. And whatever lessons need to be learned will be learned from whatever comes out of that. And I do trust that result so that I don't get wrapped up. I mean, I was a sign carrier. I was out there in the past with political elections. And I realized that there was just a whole lot of my ego in that. And my task to find the peace of God is to surrender to the miracles that happen every time I see one of you. And we hug, or I say I love you, or you say you love me, and I hear that. And I know that 20 years ago, that wasn't me. That wasn't the way I related. And so miracles we're entitled to miracles. That's one of the lessons in the Course. We are entitled to miracles. I wrote some things down I want to share, and then I'm going to turn it over to Irene. In the clarification of terms, miracles are referred to along with the ego and miracles, because miracles are the counter, is the opposite of anything that the ego comes up with. Lesson 159, I give the miracles I have received. And the whole idea of giving and being in that love so that it comes, it's part of your energy that goes forth. Then you open up the pathway to receive back. That's what you give. That's a miracle. And it needs to be preceded with a change in your thinking so that your receptivity is open to the love and the kindness and the compassion that is out there in the world. We can't see it because we're so cluttered up with the materialism that we don't see. And I want to be tuned into that stream of life that the Course talks about and recognize who I am. And I come here because just looking out here, you shared your story. Last week, Martha, I don't pick on you, Martha, but shared from her heart her story. That to me was a miracle happening. And I see it happening when people share in this group from their heart about what's going on. And then life just becomes so exciting because you don't know what's around the next bend, but you do know that it's good, that it's probably good. And ever since Irene last March gave her ta-da speech, how many of you were there for that? The live streaming picked up by a woman in South Africa, got in touch with her through Judy out in California. They've been Skyping. I've been a witness to watching the Skyping between Irene and this group of women in South Africa. And it is definitely out of the ordinary. It is not the usual thing. The miracle of being able to be live with people who are halfway around the world, and then who issued an invitation, said, please come and help us. We need your inspiration. We need what you have to offer in your coaching. And this is the other thing about a miracle. A miracle is when no, the former no turns to yes. And without hesitation, Irene said, yes, I will come. She didn't know how. She didn't have a clue. But we had coaching and had so forth. And so that's my story with miracles. I feel I'm in it just being here. So I'm going to turn it over to my lovely wife.
Thanks, Jay. I think it's time for this song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first song was The Rose, and the whole idea that we're afraid of love, we're terrified of the vulnerability, of where it will take us. And that's the ante. You have to ante up in order to be with the miracles, because they're all coming out of the love that we are. So we can stand over here in terror, or we can open up and see what happens, right? And this song, I think, is the answer out of it. There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all by myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, you're struggling, just trying to make it through one more day, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And this is what you've got to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. I'm only for God. No more troubles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. For love, no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, so much more you can say in songs than all the blah, 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 right? Which is what makes them like so fabulous and what makes us love them, right? The ones that really stick are the ones that tell us about our story. So when I think about miracles, having been raised in a Roman Catholic church, and I don't say this to disparage the church, but it definitely set me up with some rules that made the box very small to be in. And the box was, a miracle had to look like, if we had an expectation about how something was supposed to work out, a miracle was some kind of magic that went poof, and everything changed. And so it would, like the waters would part, and we would see the waters part, or something would completely blow out of the orbit and something different would happen. And it only happened to very, very special people. Dead people would walk out and they would be alive. Well, the ego has a really hard time with that in this illusion, right? So it always felt to me like the miracles happened to the lucky people. The ones who won the lottery, there's a miracle, The ones who, the ones whose rock song got heard, so they got famous, and the 900 bazillion other people, they weren't one of the chosen ones. Miracles were for the chosen people. The rest of us were kind of schleps, and we just had to work harder at getting our acts together. And it always felt like boxes, like everybody was in some kind of a box. You were in the box where you got that kind of stuff, like, oh, you inherit $1 million because your grandfather just found out who you were, right? Or you were the food stamp kids, like, there's the miracle over here. It was always somebody else's experience. It wasn't my experience. Having the Course tell me that everything is love, and every prosperity class I take, it's the same thing. Everything is love. Source is around us, supplying us all the time. I would trust it when I was a kid for creativity. I don't know why, but somehow in the very beginning, I got told I was creative and I believed it. That got supported for me. So I'd be one of those kids, like you'd be, like if we were in a class together and the teacher was making us do some creative project, you'd want to be on my team because I knew we could nail it. I just trusted it. I knew we would nail it. And we always did. I trusted that we'd have ideas would come and it would all be supplied and we would make this work. We'd have a good idea. We'd probably have the best idea. I was pretty sure of that because I was also humble as a child. I trusted it. Did not trust it around money. I didn't see money at my house. I didn't see us having enough to pay the rent. Lots of times not enough for food. So I didn't trust the money thing, but I trusted the creative thing. And I didn't realize that for a long, long time until I got into prosperity teaching, or studying prosperity, and also along with the Course. And when I stopped calling God God and started calling God Source and Love, I felt like I could be more a part of it. I felt like it was open to me. It wasn't something that was beyond me, and it was for you, but it wasn't for me. Because the word God for me just kept bringing in old definitions and things that other people said it was. And I've said this before in here, that in the 12 steps, I got the opportunity, or like kind of suggested, that you will find the meaning for yourself. No one ever challenged me to do that, to find the meaning for myself. So with unity, the unity principles, which so align themselves with the Course and with the 12 steps, all combined together, really had me pull Source out of it all. And now I have this word that I'm very, very comfortable with. Well, if you're traveling with Source, and you know that you're on the canoe in the river of Source, you don't doubt what's coming your way. I feel as free with it, I feel as open to it as I've always felt about creativity. So these people, this woman calls me Rosie, who I think is probably watching, so I say, hi Rosie, and I'm going to see you on Friday. I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud. So she contacts Judy, and Judy contacts me and says, will you be willing to talk to this woman? And I said, sure, and we were going to Skype, and she said, she wants you to bring the tada. The tada is just recognizing that you are completely plugged into Source at all times. And the only way you unplug from Source is you turn the switch off. But the power is always there and always available. So when I come and teach, and when I come and help these women, over Skype, so I thought the first time, Rosie, I've never told you this, but I thought the first time we were going to Skype, you were going to talk to me about what you might need. Well, the first time I Skyped in, she had the room full of people. I was scared, Rosie, but I made it work. You all made it work. And then I thought, okay, guess we're going to get going here, right? And together, it's been this fabulous, fabulous journey. These women are, especially Poppy and Rosie, have just been so open and honest and willing and sincere. And what I have learned, particularly from Poppy, is what faith looks like. Just this incredible, incredible faith. I got very, very downloaded, like instantly, oh, you just do a GoFundMe, that's how you get there. I didn't even know how you did a GoFundMe. I had heard about it once, right? And the idea of asking people for money, you might as well take me to the food court at the mall and ask me to take my clothes off, because it's like, oh my God, oh Lord, you know, and I haven't had 1 ounce of that with this. Wow. That's a miracle. That's because I've turned it over to Source, and Source says, listen, Lulu, this is how you're going to get the money to go. And you all, every one of you has been so phenomenally generous, and so many more outside of this room have just been incredibly generous. I just stood in it, just stood in the river, and the waters just flowed, right? So anyway, one example of like Poppy's incredible faith. She had hit a bottom with alcohol use. She only had a short experience with it. Before, she had built a business and she had done well. The prosperity was too much for her to handle. She didn't feel like she deserved it. I don't believe she felt that consciously. That's a subconscious kind of thing where we can't accept the good that is ours. Isn't that what the rose is about? Not accepting the good that is ours. So she found a way to sabotage it, obviously not consciously. She got real involved with alcohol and crazy people and lost everything. Was on the streets with her children, not knowing where she's going to live with them. And she heard God speak to her through, you know, like one of her first sober moments. You are to help other women, and when you do, you'll be okay. What you give is the miracle that you will get. And so she got the idea, was gifted the idea. That's another thing I just learned in Edwin Gaines' master training for Source, and reading it out of Charles Fillmore's book. The way you're supplied is with ideas. But if we're not open to listen to it, if we're like, you know, waiting for the lottery ticket to just kind of like appear in the mail, and I'll just wait here until, you know, fortune comes, but I'm not listening to what I'm being told, you know, we miss the boat. We miss the opportunity. So anyway, she heard it. She listened. She had helped others when she had her business. She had helped other people to, she's a hairdresser and she's a brilliant like stylist. She had won awards. So she had helped other people do that. A pair of scissors, you know, professional scissors, means a woman can start a business in her kitchen. She can feed her children. You know, you can't take that away from her. It's just, and so we started the school, Beyond Beautiful. The name was given to her. The idea Beyond Beautiful, we're more than the haircut. You know, we're being sourced and supplied all the time. We want to open the school eventually to other trades, but this is the one we have right now. Last week, the school was able to pay its own water bill. I mean, it's starting, you know, it's starting to make baby steps. The women who have had a little bit of training, there are 8 students right now. But about Poppy, she's not had food sometimes for herself and her children. And she just said, then we don't need to eat today. That's been really, really hard for me to hear. And she said, we'll get the food when we need the food. I was told to make this school work. And that's what she does. She does it every day. She's working on her, what would be, we would call it GED. You know, she's working on that nights and weekends because she wants to take it to a more professional place. And she needs that to make it happen. So she's teaching the school days. She's trying to run around, you know, gather resources for it. I mean, that woman is like brilliant about how she can make a nickel bleed, you know. It's a rand, not a nickel. And then she's at the, you know, she's going to school nights and weekends and finding free tutors, and she has 4 children. You know, and the area where the school has happened is rough area, a lot of drug and alcohol addiction. When I came back from is this making sense, guys? Yeah. Okay. Because I get so emotional about it, I don't even know if I'm following, you know, rational. So I went to this master training for prosperity with Edwin Gaines, which is all about this being in the source and trusting. Just trusting you will be supplied. And just keep on putting one foot in front of the other. But one of the things is to share, to tithe, to put out in the community, to pay God first, to pay source first, because you're doing that with, like, if I tithe, then what I'm saying is I'm trusting the supply. So it's putting the trust into action. So Poppy said, well, what did you learn at the prosperity? And I said, well, one of the things I learned was, we're a business. And if we want to be a profitable business, we have to tithe. And she looked at me like, we have to give money away? You know how hard I'm trying to gather it? Now you want to give it away, right? And it's like, yeah, we got to do it. So she said, we got to give where we feel the Spirit moves us. And she said, well, I'm going to give it to you. And I said, well, let's keep the money in Africa, okay? When you make it big time, you can give me money, okay? But right now, we're keeping the money in Africa. So what do you want to do? And she said, well, I want to feed the children. Because there are these kids that come and look in the windows, and they're watching what the students are doing, and this all looks magical. Because this building that we're in was a crack house. There were gunfights going on in this place, and Poppy got guided that we're to bring light to this corner of this really rough neighborhood, right? So these kids are coming and looking in the windows, and she said, I want to feed them. These are children whose mothers and have no fathers, and the mothers are in drug comas. You know, they're just lost to alcohol and drugs. And they wander the streets, and they're looking for food. So she said, I want to feed them. So I said, great, fine. So the students gathered, and then we had this day, and they went to feed the children, and they bought hot dogs and bread and juice, and this is like Christmas for these kids, There were 200 kids that came, and there were 100 kids that came that we didn't have the food for. And that's what I'm scared of. I'm really, really scared to go see that, There's wealth in South Africa, and there's incredible poverty in South Africa, and I have to hold that, okay, source, you are here, even when it doesn't look like you're here, even when it looks hard and it looks ugly. I have to know you are here, you are here, you are here. That's the challenge, right? Isn't that always the challenge? To just remember who we are and what's in front of us? The way I hang on to it is that I believe that there was an energy that we all were before we got here. That even works with my old Catholic faith. There was something going on before we got here. We got all these chapters we're looking at right now, and there's something we're moving on to. So this doesn't always make sense, because it's out of context. Mm-hmm. I don't know why there are hungry children on the planet. When you know that we're throwing food away, there's probably people on the other side of town that are throwing food away, right? I don't know why. I have a feeling that I'm going to learn some of that while I'm there. I'm going to get another vision. I'm going to get to see more. So if these kids can wander the streets, then I can find out whatever it is that I have to muster up to go and take a look, right? To be a part of. And there are these, because I watch Poppy. Poppy has made this happen. The women are starting to make a little bit of money washing hair and stuff. And this weekend they're having what we're calling a hair carnival to try to attract people into the shop, right? And so because of all your contributions, they feel like they'll make money this weekend that'll, propel them for more. So, does anybody have any questions or anything you want to ask me? What, Andy?
I don't want to ask you, I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
You're the ta-da that they're looking for.
Yes.
That's why you're going.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's to remind them that
You're
Tada's
bringing some
in
serious
them.
light to South Africa, I
Yeah.
tell you.
Thanks, honey. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My thought is, they need lights.
Well, Diane said they don't.
Okay. So my thought is you're going there. This is the piece you need to heal. You're going there for them, but you're going to get more from this experience than they are. There's something you haven't been able to get through, that this will be the answer for you.
Which is why I brought this into my life.
This is why it's so clear that you're going there to be healed for whatever reason.
Mhm. Love you, Peggy.
You do.
It's, I mean, this may sound a little cliche, but it's very parallel to the whole Mother Teresa story with looking outside the convent and seeing the children that needed food and starting the school and the girls getting together and raising money. And I mean, it's pretty interesting to hear the modern perspective of that same story.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And the whole idea about Poppy having enough faith, like I know what it's like to get newly sober. With a lot more support in my life than she's had in hers. But to lift your head up and say, at the bottom, rather than what's in it for me, you're telling me to take care of these other women, okay? Then that's where I go. You want to say something, Laura?
Yeah, I think this is amazing healing for you, because I think for you and I, the 12-step program got us going. Of course, the miracles hopped us up and over the 12-step program.
I love that, hopped us up. It did hop us up, didn't
It hopped
it?
us up and over, right?
Yes.
It brought us to the next level.
Yes.
And now this is bringing you to an even, like when you're sponsoring women and you're seeing yourself and they're healing you, but they think you're helping them. And now this is healing you and you're helping them. It's bringing you even to a higher level, a higher frequency, so to speak.
Right.
And that's how I see it too. You are being healed, they are being healed, just like in the 12-step program. What you're doing for them, they're going to do for others, they're going to do for others. And as much as there was 100 children that didn't get food, that's going to change. I can already feel it. So you're amazing.
So are you. So is this phenomenal group.
I just want to add something to what you said, John, because the part
Can you hear her?
the part about Mother Teresa that I relate to you also is, she went to,
She had a wise mouth.
but she went to her superiors, whoever they were, and told them what she wanted to do, and they just laughed at her.
Yes, she was nuts.
And I think you have laughed at yourself for a number of years. And to see you do this, to see you ask for money and make this happen is fabulous. Because I know from where you have come. So I really salute you, Irene.
Aw,
I really
thank you. Thank you.
The
Thank
light of the
you.
world.
We all are, huh? And that's why I said a couple of weeks ago when I got to be here, because a lot of times I work on Friday mornings, I'll speak for me, but I think there were a few of us who thought the live stream was a pain in the toodaloo, right? When we were live streaming, like, oh my God, can we stop interrupting for the live stream, right? And we had, and Bill was determined we're going to live stream it. And we have no idea who's on the other side of that red blinking light. We have no idea who's listening. And how many people are hungry for things to be shared. But he was able to stand in his truth, right? And it's that whole idea of like not letting go of what you know. And I know that that's hard, because sometimes what you know is the ego that just wants what it wants when it wants it, right? But there's a different place in our being. It's that seed that's underneath that knows it's the truth. Yes?
You were born to do this. This is what I really feel, is that each of us is born to do something like this, really extraordinary, where we give of ourselves in a way that we had no idea we were going to do, and just take the chance, take the risk it all and do it, and you find out that you are the living miracle. You are the light of the world, and you're bringing yourself to a place that needs your light, and it'll be extraordinary, because you're just going to shine, and they're going to shine back at you. I mean, it's just, I'm so excited. I wish I could come with you. Me too.
Next time, we'll take everybody. Next time we'll take
But I've
everybody.
done that, traveling around and meeting people and bringing
You
them
love
to
the
this
ACI
place.
jet.
It's just, it's so strong. You come alive. You will come alive in ways you have no idea.
Where did you go?
Spain, Barcelona.
And did you take the course with you? Is that
Yeah,
what you were there
I was
for?
teaching there for 6 weeks, and I was on top of the world. Like my mind was so expanded, I was flying. It was a peak experience, and I'll never
Right.
forget it.
Right.
So I'm really happy you're doing this, and it's gonna. I can feel the ripples going out. It's gonna be extraordinary.
Right.
Yeah.
During the summer, I would wake up, and it'd be like, I'd wake up like around 3 in the morning, and I'd go, I said I was going to do what? What? What the heck were you thinking? You know? And then this other part of me, really strong, would go, get over yourself, you're going. You know, just get over yourself, you're going. That voice has been very, very strong. It's, go ahead.
I just wanted to share another, well, for me, it was a miracle. I happened to be in Barnes & Noble, and I bought her a book, a travel book on South Africa, and I started to read it myself yesterday afternoon. And I'd heard the name Cape Town, South Africa. I didn't know much about Cape Town, so I'm reading some of the history. And I'm finding out that there was a young lawyer, 50, 60 years ago or more?
More than that.
Yeah, more than that. An Indian lawyer who had a practice there, trying to represent a fair amount of Indians who were living there, who were being abused, who turned out to go back to his home country and bring the whole movement that took India back away from the British, Mahatma Gandhi. And then I read on that that's where, what's his name?
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela lived and was imprisoned on an island off of Cape Town for 25 some years.
18.
And then came back and was voted president. That's where Desmond Tutu, who was an Episcopal bishop, who participated in protest movements against apartheid and brought freedom to the people. I'm reading this. This is where my wife is going. This is the seat of an awful lot of changed thinking going on in the world. And I just had no idea how the magnitude of that location. You know, it's like a vortex in the world, a spiritual vortex where people knew the worst of the worst and yet have emerged in some different way. So
You need
I just
us?
wanted to add that.
People are asking where they can donate.
Oh, the GoFundMe.
Oh yeah, tell them.
Can you tell them the link? Where to go?
Yeah, you can look at Irene Tomkinson, help the women of South Africa to GoFundMe.
You might need to spell
Why
that
don't you
last
write
name.
it on a piece of paper and show it?
Okay,
Do we have a magic marker?
yeah, right here.
A magic marker?
Oh, here?
How about a magic marker? Irene?
Wait,
Yeah.
take a Sharpie.
Irene, wait, we're gonna do it with the magic.
Get a
marker.
Sharpie.
Yeah,
Okay.
Here's a Sharpie.
I can't make this hot link. I can't make this a hot link. Whoops, sorry. Thank you all for asking.
Because just as a practical measure, she is behind in what she needs for the whole enterprise.
It's all perfect.
Because Irene is,
So it's GoFundMe. Can you see that? Right? And you look for Irene Tomkinson, helping the women of South Africa. It'll come up. Helping the women of South Africa. TOMKINSON. Or you can always go to Judy Morton because, man, she's good at setting you up. Thank you. So we've got a few minutes, right, Diane? We've got a few minutes?
We do, yes.
I'd like to have people share some experiences
miracles?
of, but times in your life. Well, first I want you to think about a time in your life where you didn't listen to your inner voice. What happened? Sure.
I just looked it up on Google, and so there's a GoFundMe for South Africa by Ruth Luke.
No.
Well, then you want to make sure they know it's by
That's
Irene
right.
Tomkinson GoFundMe.
Okay.
Okay, because there's a couple of them.
Okay.
Just tell people South Africa, there's going to be more than one.
Right, but you connect my name to it and it'll come up. My site will come up.
Irene, that's
It's
not
Help Me Help South Africa Women.
Okay. Help me help South African women. Irene Tomkinson, GoFundMe. Thanks, Sean. Were you going to say something, Nancy?
I was just waiting for you to say what you were going to ask me.
I was going to ask people about a time in your life, I want you to think about this, a time in your life where you did not listen to your voice. What happened? Laura?
So just yesterday, I speak at Lunenburg High School with a friend of mine.
Do you want her to stand up?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I speak at Lunenburg High School. It's been 8 years now with a friend of mine about drugs and alcohol. When the teacher first asked my daughter, when she was in 9th grade, which was 8 years ago, she's not even in this, my kid's not even in the school anymore, we keep going, if anyone knew an alcoholic. My daughter said my mother.
Oh, good.
And at first, I didn't, yeah.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yeah. So the PTO meeting, she's like, so your daughter says that you'll come speak here.
Your
And I
daughter
had
says
never-
you're a drunk.
Yeah, you're a drunk, you're an alcoholic. And I started to go, I didn't want to go. And they have to, this teacher's amazing, and they have to write us a letter after we come in. And it's part of their grade. And the first set of letters made me, they all make me cry. And how many of these kids are touched by alcoholism at home, getting beaten, fights, stuff like that. We actually had 2 full-blown alcoholics come out of the 9th grade. It's a 9th grade class, health class. We talk all day long, and then 6 months later we do it again and I went with my original sponsor, and then she didn't want to go anymore. So I was like, well, if you're not going, I'm not going. But something in me said, don't stop this. And a friend of mine who I met in meetings had been praying for 10 years because she had a vehicular homicide when she was 23. She had been praying for 10 years to speak to children about what happened to her, drunk driving. And she said, you walked into a meeting and me and you, our eyes met and we connected. And for some reason I looked at her and said, hey, I need someone to speak at the high school with me.
For some reason.
For some reason. And she started
Guidance.
coming, and yesterday, she tells her story and has to sit down because she's crying the whole time. I mean, it happened 25 years ago, but it lived in her mind. And she tells the kids how she got shackled and the whole bit, her second time drunk driving, went to Catholic high school, good girl. These kids are crying, and there was just a tragedy in this town about 3 months ago, and 3 of the kids that had already heard us speak before, a few years before, one of them was drunk driving, killed the other kids, and one of those kids' brothers was in that class yesterday. They told him he could opt out if he didn't want to hear it, he wanted to hear it. And this is the amazing miracle that you don't even know is going to happen. And this is 8 years later even, and there she is. And this kid was all we talk about is tragedies happen for some reason, and it's about forgiveness, it's about having an open mind, it's about not judging what you think you see, and I would have never done it if something hadn't pushed me further, and those letters came in from those kids, and they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming in front of us and showing us what an alcoholic and addict actually looks like and telling us your stories. So that's who you are now. It's a gift. Gift.
Who else has a story to
Diane?
share?
I just want you to be able to focus on this.
Okay.
All right?
Does someone else have a story to share? A time when you listened? Can you, all right, can you raise your hands if you didn't listen, what happened? You don't have to tell it, but you know a time when you didn't listen. Yeah, I married my first husband. The night before, everything in my whole body said, do not do this.
Elizabeth.
And I did it for 125 baked stuffed chickens, because they had been like, really? What would they do with the chickens? Lisa,
No, I just agree. I did the same thing. I
what did you do?
married my first husband the night, and I knew it was wrong. My brother had died, so I was doing this to help my family basically come back. And I had the same thought in the summer before my wedding. I thought, I really don't want to marry him, but what will my mother do with all the invitations and shower presents and, you know, how embarrassing for them. Plus they need this. It's made them, you know, reawaken to life. So I mean, what a nice thing to do to him. Sorry. So yeah, I didn't listen, and I was young, but they had a lot of consequences.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we should all
Just waking up to the voice and trusting what we know. It is so hard to trust what we know, right? So I think we're there, Di. Can we make a circle and do a prayer?
We still have 20 minutes. It's quarter of we end?
Oh.
No way. I've been looking at 11:30.
Tap dance.
Huh? Do a little tap dance?
Pretend you're in the food court.
Pretend I'm in the food court?
Quarter of.
Do my Jim Morrison.
We end at quarter of.
Yes.
All right then. Okay. I feel like I'm on a PBS fundraiser. Yes.
For $95, you get a coffee mug.
Has anybody been dying to share their story? Yes, Mike. Why don't you come on up here?
My hand up.
Good. Put it up. Come on up.
It's a first for me to get up here, but
Good, good, good.
you're an awesome couple.
Thank you. I have the mic, which is why I'm lurching over you.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to tell my horse story. About 4 months ago, I went horseback riding with a group of people. It was about 10 or 12 of us, and we went out way out in the countryside in Massachusetts, and they come over and they said, okay, everybody stand in the line. We're going to tell you the name of your horse. And so we all stood in the line, and you know, I'm like the biggest guy there. So they cut to me and they said, your horse is Happy. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing there and I see this little baby pig running around, and he's running up to the horse's legs and he's rubbing up against their legs. And I'm like, wow, what's going on with that? I asked the lady and she says, oh, the pig loves the horses. He just loves them. Well, okay. So then everybody starts getting their horses, and they bring in the horses over, and then they says to me, come on with me. So I walk over and I walk down this little dirt road, and there's this horse. The big guy gets the big horse. Now this thing was kind of intimidating because he was huge. So I'm like, okay, Happy, huh? Says, is Happy? So I asked her, I says, is Happy happy or is he like not happy? She says he's not happy. So I'm going, okay. This is going to be a 2-hour ride. I go, oh no, because I had an experience years ago. I went on a horseback riding, and the horse didn't want to follow the crowd. He turned around and he galloped all the way back to the stable and ran under a branch trying to knock me off.
Wow.
But I was younger then and I could lean off the side, but now I'm old and I can't be doing those tricky things no more. So that's my first thought. So I went over to the horse, she hands me the reins. She has the reins and she said, now you have to let this horse know that you're in charge. And she yanks on him because the horse started to, pull away. She hands me and he starts to pull away, and I pulled on it, and I'm like, okay, this is like really intimidating. So I says, you know what? I'm not going to be mean to this horse. And then she warns me that he wants to go his own way. He wants to eat everything on the trail. He wants to rub up against branches. So she says, you got to really let him know who's boss. So anyways, I stood there with the reins, and I just said, you know what? Is that the reins, those leather things? Yeah. I put my hand up on Happy's shoulder blades, and I shut my eyes, and I went into my heart space, which is God. And so I did that, and as I did that, Happy stopped pulling, and I'm just standing there, and I shut my eyes, and as I'm doing it, all of a sudden, Happy took his head, and he put his head right down on my knees, right down against my knees. And I'm scared, but I'm trying to stay in my heart space. So I look down, and he's got his head like on my knees. And I'm like, okay, God, okay, this is funny. So I'm standing there, and then I open my eyes again, and I'm looking to see if he's eating grass, and he's not. He's just loving on me. He's connecting with me. This big, beautiful horse. And then out of the corner of my eyes, I see that little pig. Georgina knows this story. This little pig's running over at us wide open with these little legs like this, and he comes flying up, and my first automatic thought is he's coming to make love to the horse's face because he's down there. And the pig comes running over, and I'm like this, and the horse is on my knees, and all of a sudden the pig comes over. He don't even touch the horse. he lays across my left foot. You know, like cats and dogs, when they love you and they'll lay on your foot? The pig come over to lay on my foot because he was feeling God. He was feeling God's heart space. And so I went on the horse for 2 hours. Halfway through, he was beautiful halfway, and then halfway through he started to act up a little bit. Put my hand on his shoulder blades while I was riding him, and I went into my heart again. And he went right back into the middle of the trail for the rest of the next whole hour. And I went back, and they said, so how was Happy? Kind of nervously. I said, he was awesome. He was just wonderful. She goes, really? I says, really? He was beautiful. She goes, I'm going to tell everybody that. And that's my story.
Oh, and then when Happy went back to the stable and the horses said, so how was Michael? I said, he was great.
He was in his heart.
He was in his heart space. Oh, come on. Somebody else has one. Who's got a story? Who wants to share? This is one of Lisa's goals for this group, right? Is that we all share? Don't be looking at me like that. Come bail me out here, guys. Come on.
What do you need?
Come on, Andy.
Yeah.
I was so convinced we stopped at I've been watching that clock to stop right on time, right? Okay.
Hi, live streamers. Hi, Bonnie. Hope you're feeling better. Wow, it's just intimidating up here.
The little red light.
Blinking at you.
I kind of need to credit Course in Miracles for saving my marriage.
Wow.
Bonnie and I were in a pretty bad place, and I'm a terrible communicator. You know, I'm a guy, stuff everything down. Look, I don't need it. That's emotions. You can't have that stuff. But she met Lisa and Bill and started the Course in Miracles, and I came with her, and it helped us to communicate. And I think we're in a really good place now. Love you, honey.
How did it change your communication?
It allowed me to communicate more so than her, because Bonnie's always been outspoken. If something bothers her, she tells you. She gets it off her chest, which is good. It's a wonderful quality. But for me, and I'm the type that will blow. You know, you stop it, and then something silly happens, and everything that happened to you during the day comes out to whatever created the trigger. I'm working on it, not as...
You're standing up here. Hallelujah. This is a miracle.
I'm getting ready to vomit.
She's over there saying, he's standing in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. How do you communicate differently? What gave you the courage?
I don't know. I don't really hear voices that I can, you hear people say, I got a download, or I heard a voice, or I don't really hear that. I mean, maybe it's like an intuition.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for the Andy. Build an ark.
Can I tell you a secret, Andy?
What?
You just told a story about 80% of the men in our culture.
And I think that's part of, you got to be the guy's guy.
Yeah. Stay in charge, in control.
And
Venus.
Mars and Venus thing, yeah. Well, I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic. He never admitted it till the day he died, but he was. Because he said he gave it up on his own, and I got in a lot of trouble because I told somebody he was an alcoholic and he heard me. This was long after he quit, and he stewed on it for days. Bonnie can attest to the story that, I don't know why Andy thinks I'm an alcoholic. My childhood memories, it seems the bad ones are the ones that stick. I have some good ones, but the bad ones are the ones that stick.
Right.
I'm going to make an example out of my son in front of everybody because I'm the dad, and it's, that's part of the experience that brought me here today.
Yeah.
So,
And I want to say that your commitment, when I came, when I was new, and you look around at these meetings, whether it's Unity or ACIM, it's usually about what? 2/3 women, a third, if that, less than men. But your commitment and resolve to keep coming here really fed my spirit.
Oh,
and
good, thanks.
all the men that come. It's not just about
I
men,
have to
but
thank my wife for that because she keeps me on track.
yeah, I know. I felt the push too.
Yes, those leather things. That's really all I have. I just want to come up and say, I hope you're feeling better, Bonnie. Live stream is
And
Bill
I'm
Lisa.
now a professional communicator, and
Yeah.
he'll offer his services out to anyone,
That's
right?
right.
Now that you've done it on video.
Yeah, I'm going on tour.
Oh, this is great.
Someone else, come on.
What did he do differently? He just started talking?
Georgina, right here.
Georgina, wait a minute, let me answer. Yeah, come on up. What did you do differently, Andy, that Laura said?
As far as like learning to communicate, I practice pause. Don't react, proact.
Practice
Sure.
pause before you blew.
Right. And before, because once you say something, you can't take it back. So if the ego speaks through you before letting, I learned about let Jesus go first, let the Holy Spirit go
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Because in your head, you make but once it comes out, there's no taking it back. Whether
Right,
it's,
right.
you could say really hurtful things, and they don't mean anything except you're just your temper at the time. There's no meaning there for you. But once it's out and delivered to that other person, there's meaning there for them.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. There's no meaning for you, but there's meaning for them.
You just feel you're venting. I'm just venting, just venting the way I know how.
With a machine gun.
Right, and it doesn't mean nothing to me coming out. The intention wasn't, it's just more of a vent.
Right.
But when it goes where it's supposed to go, I don't know what that person's feeling. They don't,
Right.
there's meaning there for them, not for me.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Georgina.
Thanks. Thank you both. Beautiful talk.
Thanks, sweetie.
Yeah, thanks.
The stalker's hanging here with the mic.
Okay, you can stalk, we can hug and all that good stuff. So my name is Georgina. I've been coming for 4 years, and I wanted to share something about prayer. If you read the course, I'm not sure you're going to find the word in there. And I got to experience prayer in my life. I got to see it in action, and it came from someone that was sober, 12 steps. And prayer for me is something that's changed my life repeatedly. I just didn't know it. I had to learn how to acknowledge it. And acknowledgement is huge. For me, that's gratitude. So every moment I see God in action. And if I don't see God in action, that's me telling God where to go. And I've had a long time of doing that. In fact, I thought it was God Jr. for quite a while. Sometimes still do. That humility thing, fabulous. So anyway, prayer for me is anytime the Course says ask, A-S-K, ask. And prayer is in the Bible. It says ask. And what I found in my life looking backwards is I actually did ask. About 2 years ago, I asked for teachers in form. And it's so funny, they came. And what did they do? But they prayed for me. And I could see that going backwards. And I can see back in the patterns of my life where people had prayed for me and turned me right side up. But I also have been able to see how I prayed against God. That's a really good way to say it. And the Course says that. The Course says thoughts against God. So a prayer against God is a promise that I had no right to make and is truly against God. So I know that age 6, my life changed significantly because I had broken a rib and I promised I wouldn't breathe because it hurt. And that's what it is. It's I want, I don't want. And God's in the middle of that. So what I found is a whole pattern of prayers against God. And I want to just caution, our words are so powerful because behind the word is our God. And the words that I can use now, and I have to be very selective, are only the words that would be in the Course, or only the words that I find in the Bible. So I'm very, very cautious because all I've known throughout my whole life is darkness. And that's okay, because that's how God asked me to be, and that's how I show up in the world. So I'm a wounded healer. My part is the wounds. God's part is the healer. So I just wanted you to know that prayer is a big deal. And if you have a mind that goes from 0 to 60, now if you have a penchant or a love for prayer, I'd like to recommend that you go to 12-step meetings, because that's where they need an awful lot of prayer. Because we have drugs with kids, And the alcoholics of old, they didn't die as fast as they're dying now. These kids. Are in trouble because, in my opinion, the 12-step groups have splintered. They each have their own singular purpose. But in A Course in Miracles, the one purpose is for us to serve as people of God. So I'm probably the only Course person I know that's gone from A Course in Miracles to 12 steps. And it's lovely to see the old-timers pray. And I want to challenge the Course people that know prayer. Go sit in a 12-step group. Go find the narcotic groups. There's an Emotion Anonymous group in Newburyport that's amazing. And I've been able to do that for the last 3 months, and I'm watching people get turned right side up from prayer. And prayer can be simple. It's God help. It could be just God. It could be Source. Prayer is so easy. It's just getting out of the way and letting God through. So I just wanted to give that to you. We are the people that know prayer. So my job when I go in a 12-step group, and I still haven't finished a step, I promise you, I haven't found a sponsor. It took me 5 tries, still not there. But what I want you to know is that when you sit in that group and you pray for them, you're changing lives. And that's what God's asking us to do. For me, I am a witness of God. I get to stand in the presence of God. And that's my job every day. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. Thank you.
2 minutes.
And, okay, so we can make our circle, right? We can make our circle. And thanks for reminding us, Georgina. From one of my favorite things that I've learned in the Course is the Ho'oponopono prayer.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my God,
It's a
I use that
wonderful prayer.
constantly. When you put that out there and you say, I'm sorry,
Balances off, yeah.
I really get it, that what I'm sorry is that I didn't see the light in you. I'm sorry I didn't see the light in you. Whoever's making me crazy, I'm sorry that I don't see the light in you. What's the rest of it go?
Thank you for
Thank you.
showing me.
Thank you.
I love you.
And I love you.
Forgive me.
Forgive me. Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
I love you.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So for every child that's out here on the planet, or every one of those moms that's not feeding her children because she's somewhere in the drug haze, for everything that looks wrong to us, we say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So to remind everyone that Lisa and Bill have a donate button on the bottom of the screen that you live streamers can help support their ministry. And we have a box here. So can you say the prayer?
We say the prayer, yeah. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I'd like to ask the group, like I did the last time we were up here, if anybody feels moved in their heart to want to close this with a prayer. Anybody at all?
Perfect.
Okay, Linda, great.
Holy Spirit source, your name is all powerful, and to bring through us the chills that make us take it to wherever we go, wherever we wander, wherever we are inspired to shine our light through and through, from top of our head to the bottom of our toes, through the earth, to the other side of the earth, through the universe, and back around to us, so that we can all bring a universal light into the world. Thanks to Lisa and Bill and our energy. Amen.
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 So it is.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Good job.
Goodbye, y'all.
Bye, streamers.
Gonna be at this meeting.
Oh, well, we did it.
Peace of God shining in me now. The peace of God shining in me now. The peace of God shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in the peace of God shining in me now.